good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 2, season 2 of Skookum Session Roundtable. Have another interesting group of gentlemen with you tonight. We're only missing one guest, but we have made up for it. I'm Jeremiah Fountain, one of your hosts, joined by Garey Spikes Jr. from Oklahoma. We also have an honor to have Mr. Israel Barreto back with us. Guys, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Good.
How's it going?
Excellent. Great. Glad to have you. And Mr. John Schweitzer out of Indiana. John, how are we?
Yeah. All right. No problem. None there.
Glad to have you, John.
Yeah, it's
Glad
good
to have you.
Good to be anywhere.
Yeah, you're it. And Mr. Travis Bowen from Virginia. Travis, how's it going?
Doing good, Jeremiah. Doing good.
Glad you're here, brother. Glad you're here. Tonight is going to get interesting. And Mr. J.R. Kitchen out of North Carolina. J.R., how are we doing?
I'm really good, man. Awfully well. Good to see all you smiling.
God, it's just so good to have you back, man. I just can't. I'm in awe.
So good to be here.
You
I
ain't
can't tell you.
joking.
God Almighty, God, it just seems like forever. Anyway, and we are honored to have a guest host with us tonight, Mr. Patrick Vaughn. Patrick, how you doing? Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Great deal.
No problem. My pleasure.
Awesome to have you with us. It really is. Heard some excellent things about you. So everyone, tonight, I just want to let everyone know tonight's probably going to get interesting. We've got might even get a little controversial, if you will. So we're going to go over evidence processing. As far as when I say speak about this, I'm talking in terms of Sasquatch research. So it's going to be evidence processing, safety when you're out in the field, protection, and I know I'm missing something, and then equipment would be the last piece of that puzzle, which, you're so to speak, tools for the field. So why don't we start off, let's start off with equipment. Israel, can you got any, if you were, for example, one of these individuals out there in our audience and they wanted to get into Sasquatch research, as far as your experience goes, what would you want handy in your, say, knapsack?
Okay. So yeah, first, thank you for having me on here, man. It's an honor.
You want to give can you give a little intro on yourself? I didn't really
Sure.
want to.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Israel Barreto, I've been in the military for 17 years. Law enforcement the whole time. I've been doing criminal investigations. More recently, I've been doing criminal intelligence. Criminal intelligence, we go out there, we collect all the evidence. Criminal intelligence, we get all the raw data, put it together, and then shoot it back out on a product. And I think that that applies more to tracking and stuff like that. It's like what you got back there, the map. That's exactly what we do. We have a digital map now, but we used to pin the map, which is perfect as well, so you can see the trends and what happened, and that's perfect for what you guys do. Because in our world, and this should be in, like you said, for anybody who's getting into this world, documentation is key. In our world, we say, if you didn't document it, it didn't happen.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you can go out there and you can see it, but if you don't document it, it's just something that's just you saying it, versus you having the evidence there that you collected over the years.
Kind of like what John was saying earlier. If you hear a story is a story.
Correct.
Oh yeah.
And they're not calling anybody, liars or anything like that, but having that evidence, will support what you're talking about.
Exactly.
So back to your question, if we're breaking it down to beginner, intermediate, or advanced, depending on what level the person's at, let's talk about cameras. The camera, you can break it down into three. Right now, everybody has a cell phone. Cell phones nowadays have amazing cameras. So you can just stay with that. That by itself can document a lot, and you can do a lot with the camera. Now, if you want to get intermediate, we call a point and shoot. It's just cheap camera. It's not maybe about $100-200 maybe or less.
Okay.
And yeah, that'd be more intermediate.
Okay.
Advanced would be more something like this,
There we go.
right? The good thing about these is that you got telescopic lens, allows you to take pictures from far distance, and potentially not disturb the area.
Yep.
Or you can get action shots very well. If you play around with it and know how to get the action shots, you can get movement really well. And again, that's just playing around with the camera, and that's a more advanced. Any questions on that one?
Yeah. What would that run somebody? Something like that.
So yeah. that one specifically was like 1700 plus the telescopic lens. So it does get pricey.
Right.
It's also heavy. Now we're talking about what you're going to carry with you. This is about, granted it's not too much, but we're looking at about 5 or 6 pounds extra that you're instead of your phone that weighs nothing compared to that.
So in your honest opinion, like, say the individuals within this chat, we probably want something intermediate, or you know what I mean, just to take with the less weight, but still get better quality than a cell phone. You'd want to go with something in the middle, basically.
Like I said, man, the phones right now, they have. Yep. I use my phone for everything now. I mean, I hardly use the big one just because it's heavy. And if you want to get sometimes action shots, or if you want to get other type of shots, you also have to carry around the tripod, which can get annoying.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think Israel had a real good point with like my phone. I've got my DSLR is a Nikon, and my phone, I've got a new Android phone. The camera, except for like he was saying, the telescopic lens, that makes the difference. But your phone will take just as good of pictures, up to about 10 feet. And it does have it with the right app on it. You can do the action shots. But I wanted to ask Israel, I know with you and your background, what are your thoughts on the type of photographs that you would want to take, like different angles and stuff like that if you came across a track or something?
So I talked to Jeremiah before. I've seen a lot of pictures where people, and I get it, you get excited because you get your first shot of, of a print or whatnot. But we have to try to teach, and we'll go into that in other, I guess, episodes, do mini episodes, I guess, where we can go in depth. But we do what we call establishing shots. So let's say that I have to say scene because I'm geared like that. So I say the scene, you found a print. You'd want to go back maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 feet and start walking in. So you take that establishing shot because that allows you, again, to start documenting if it was going north, if it was going south, potentially you could see more of what he or she was doing.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then another thing for the DSLR that I like is the ability to print it out and zoom on it, make it blow it up, and you can see more details on it. That's another thing that potentially people gear for. So whenever we take pictures and we have to go to court, and they blow it up, you have to be really good at taking the picture, and that's the difference between JPEG and stuff like that. I'm really not too good with that one. I just take the pictures, but that's what has been told to us, that we have to take in mind that every time we take a picture, we have to understand that this might go to court, and if it blows out, or if they're going to have a blow up of the picture, it has to be good quality.
Yeah, the DSLR genuinely has a higher megapixel count than a phone does, and that's what allows it to do that.
I think I only have mine as a 200 millimeter. What is it? 200 millimeter, I think.
It looked like it was like a 28 to 200 kit lens. It was on
200. Yeah, that's the same one. So it goes pretty. You can stay back and get pretty close.
Okay. Israel, can you do me one favor? Touch on lighting real quick.
Okay, so and like the video I sent you the other day, lighting is very, very important to be able to get the print properly. So what we call is the alternate light source. Typically in our field, we buy, again, it depends on how expensive you want to get with it. You do have the kit that comes with, again, with Nikon, they make it, but again, you're spending hundreds of dollars versus you buying a cheap flashlight or a flashlight, you know, that you have. Let's say the print is right here. You have the camera looking straight above it, and then you shine the light at a 45 or start going around it until you see the full print. The thing that you got to be careful is that once you start shining light, again, you have the potential of putting a shadow to it. So again, you just have to play around with it until you get the full print with the phone.
Now, Israel, would you recommend like an LED light or like a conventional incandescent bulb? Is there a difference, or I guess a benefit of either?
No, well, either or. I mean, because that just goes back to the settings that you can do with a DSLR, where you can put it warm or like the light settings. But I use LED. I got an LED flashlight, so it's brighter. So
Right.
I think it's personal preference, honestly. Again, the big things on that is moving it around until you don't see the shadow. So it might not be quite at 45. I mean, you might have to move it around, but get it to the point where it doesn't have any shadows, because then you can see the full picture.
Yeah, I know. You know, since you and I have been tight, I've learned a lot. Just you've gone on me one or two times about that. You know, so yeah, that's some good stuff, man. That's definitely one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I know that's going to benefit a lot of different people. So appreciate that. So now I know another thing we got on this. I just want to touch on this real quick, if you guys don't mind. But you remember last week when we were all talking about casting? Garey, you made an extremely good point. You know, you never ever want to clean off your cast. Now, Israel, can you hit on that a little bit?
No, he's 100% correct. You
Okay.
never want to clean it, especially because, again, you have soil, you have leaves, you have a potential DNA on there. I mean, but once you pour anything on it, you're going to cast it. The DNA can be damaged.
Okay.
You can still get it off, like hairs and stuff like that. But yeah, we never clean it. We pour it as is. And again, there's a process to it, and we can make smaller videos for that. Depending on, because like we've talked before, you can cast in water, depending how much water there is. You can cast if it's underwater, in the snow and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's different techniques for that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's probably same material in snow or water if you're doing it properly.
Yes.
Okay.
And
If I may,
Go ahead.
I think you mentioned something earlier that we had actually kind of touched base on last week, that as me and Patrick, especially, and Travis and all of us, me and Travis actually talked about it last week, but Patrick and I have talked about it a lot, about when you come into, say, where you find that track, you know, you don't just concentrate on that track. You process the whole area as you're coming into it. You log everything down, because usually there's more sign than just the track. I know in my criminal justice background, when we stepped into into a crime scene, we started at a perimeter and started working our way in. And that's the same with tracking. I know you was talking about doing that initial shot coming in. Could you kind of give us a quick overlay on, you know, recommendation to new investigators coming in on what to look for as you come into an area like that?
so as far as, because truthfully, I've never been out and about. I'm just I've done more criminal justice. So as far as seeing, I did learn from Jeremiah as far as the branches broken and stuff like that, and you know, the brush and stuff being broken. but yeah, you hit it where it's at. You step back first. We do the initial walkthrough. If we go to a crime scene, we do the initial without documenting to see what's there.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, we'll do the 360. If it's a building, I'm going to talk building wise. If it's a building, we'll go around. You do the 360, and then you go to the front door, the main E&E, was the main entry and exit. And then we'll walk towards wherever, if it's a body or whatnot. One thing that I would recommend is, and we do this as well, after you finish with the print or everything like that, you do outside perimeter. So it would be outside that area. For example, we do, trash cans and stuff like that, just to see there's, further evidence. I don't know how it would apply to you guys if you go 100 or 200 feet further from the track or stuff like that.
Patrick, probably a 45-degree walk pattern that we was talking about would work, wouldn't it? Go ahead.
Well, when I say, I'll do, 40, 45 yards, 45 degrees to the left, and then change it to the right, going through an area. But if I pick up something, I'll take a limb and cut it and take 3 limbs and make a TP over the track, and then I'll start circling back out, looking for evidence, whether it's broken limbs, displaced leaf litter, kick-ups, whatever it may be. I'll start circling my way out until I find the next one. Because you may find 2 or 3 tracks together, but then you may go another 25, 30 yards and pick up another impression. And so I'll circle out till I find that one, and I'll stake it. And about every track, if it's a hard tracking area, I'll stake every track as I find it going out.
Very nice.
Do you
Now-
document anything on it? I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Do you guys like put north or anything like that? Any identifiers like that, longitude and latitude on it?
Travis, I know
Most
you're good at that stuff. John.
Well, I carry just a handheld GPS with me. I can just mark it as a waypoint.
Yeah.
Gets me down to about a 20-foot radius on GPS. So
Nice.
John, that's kind of your forte as well too. I mean, you're a good tracker as well.
Stepped out, I think. There he is.
Okay. John, can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I had
It's okay.
a little bit of background noise there. What was the question, man?
No, that's okay. We were just,
I had to leave for a second.
that's okay. We got into the tracking a little bit, and as far as I just lost my train of thought. What were we saying?
Here, I got you, Jeremiah. When you come up on the track and you find that initial track, John, what is your procedure of documenting the area around it? Do you use a grid pattern? Do you do a sweeping left, sweeping right? And then how do you document that? Do you document each individual mark in say a grid pattern, like north or right, south, east, west type thing?
Well, I could start off with what I did last week and tell you who I'd got to call. I got a hold of Finding Bigfoot and let them come out. No, all right. I'll just run through when I find a track, I stop immediately, and I don't want to take another step, and I'm just kind of looking right there at that track. And then I look forward, and then I turn around, and I look back. Then I'll do what Patrick did, like Mandela, start sweeping. Like you'll see coyotes do it, dogs do it. They'll start in the middle, then they keep going out further, and then they pick up something and off they go. All right. The last tracks that I found were about 19 inches, 5.5 feet from toe to heel.
Big boy.
But the way I found it was doing exactly what I said. I look forward, and then I look behind. I did my Mandela. There wasn't anything that I could say that I could cast. It wasn't deep at all. But at the time, I weighed close to 260 pounds, of which I've lost that 60. And I wasn't leaving the mark, and it was on like a gravel clay and a river bottom, 1/2 inch deep, maybe, mushed up on the
So
sides.
let me ask you a question. Let me cut you off real quick, John. Let me ask you a quick question. Say you said you weighed what, 260 at the time?
Yeah, I'm down to about
Okay.
204 now, roughly.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Your experience as a tracker, I know you're a hell of a tracker. Could you put a guesstimate somewhere even close to a weight on that? In your opinion, just in your opinion.
It had to be a big bull. I mean, something like that, you know, I would say like a heavy bull. So what's a heavy bull weigh? Close to 900, 800.
Even 1,000 pounds. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
bull
that's
is in like a beef cattle bull. You talking?
Yeah.
2,500 pounds.
You're talking even heavier, yeah. Big beef cattle, yeah.
I mean, that was nothing. I mean, that's just in my wildest dream, you know. How can I say
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but
No,
I do know that was like gravel and clay, and it had already hardened up. So it was from an or a late winter, or I should say an early spring thaw, yeah, something like
Patrick,
that.
with this group, you'll have to jump in, my friend.
Well, actually, I'll add to that. You got to also think about the size of the print, the weight distribution.
Yep.
Not talking about a tiny foot with a whole lot of weight on it. You're talking about a really big, wide, long foot with a whole lot of weight on it.
Yeah, we're talking 19 inches. Hang on.
That's big. I mean,
right, oh look, yeah. Hey, hang on. Let me find her.
Well, 19 inch. I got one of my area I track. It's 8.5 feet tall. Has a 19 inch track.
I don't know if y'all can see this. Whoop, can't see that. Just hit the floor. Hang on here. Let me get it up here.
You said 8.5 feet.
But the mouth.
There's.
The mass was a horse that I had, and my horse was 960 pounds. So he was very close to that. Maybe not quite that. That's between 800 and 900 pounds was the mass. It was about he took up the equal space of what my horse did.
Wow.
Cool picture.
That's my size 12 and a half, 13 Converse next to this.
That's a big, that's damn big, you know.
And then it was a matter of in the brush, if you can see it. I'm trying to get the light. Can you see it? Get the light off of it there. You can see it like the ball of the foot and the heel. And then there was another one that it was on in the brush and you could see it, but it didn't turn out, when I took the picture. But I'll use a different angle of light source if I'm going to do something like take a picture. Of course, this was cell phone. That's all I had with me. I was looking for a fishing hole for the spring is what I was doing. But I'll shine a light, pick it up, see if especially at night, if I'm doing that, kind of make a decision. What am I looking at? Gosh, it's all been covered. What was said, already. But I mean, the way I picked those up on that was, like I said, I did the spiral out like a coyote or a dog would, just until they finally pick up something, and then you go from there. But I did find them. They were like 5.5 feet toe to heel, in a line, in a straight line. And I did not expect that. That just blew me away when they were in a straight line. You could have laid a plumb bob or a string along them, and you'd have seen that they were little deviation, being side to side like this. They were like this, they were in line.
I have a question.
Go for it.
I have a question. Has anybody else here found deformed or tracks reformed feet? And also, not just that, but then a couple of years later, have you found the same deformation in a smaller foot, smaller track, same area?
You're
How
talking,
many have done that?
you're talking about
Have you
bi-generational
seen that?
deformation of the feet.
He's talking
I'm
about
talking about a foot, but it's crooked. In between the heel and the front ball, but the toes
like
are straight.
it's been broken.
Both feet.
Both
Okay.
feet.
And then you go back a little while later and you find the smaller tracks of the same deformity.
So bi-generational.
Yeah,
And you're tracking,
that's
bi-generational. I run into that in Arkansas.
That's
something
interesting.
That's something you need to talk to my wife about if you could ever get her on this. You know, she knows about genetics. Being
That's
handed
right.
down and so forth. Jeremiah, you and I talked about that before.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
If we could just get her on,
The
Right.
thing that gets me, the way you're describing it, curving inwards like this, is almost leaning towards like an orangutan track. If you look at the back feet track where they have the actual hinge to where they grab, and if you look at monkeys and even lemurs, their feet curve funky in their track patterns as they come in. And another thing that comes to, huh?
Go ahead.
I was just saying another thing that comes to mind. He's got a lot of lag on his end.
Oh yeah.
That's not the first time I've heard of that coming out of, one of the most famous cases was Legend of Boggy Creek. He had deformed feet.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
And actually, that just made me think about it. I can add to that. A friend of mine, she's in Texas, East Texas. A friend of hers was actually in Falk this past year and found a print that looked like the photo print that Edmund Hillary took back in the 50s on Mount Everest in the snow.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
It looked just like, as soon as I saw it, actually, I remembered the weird, like that really big toe.
Great
really
big old
wide.
big old club foot with that toe sticking out the side. Yeah.
Displayed like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her friend found a print that looked identical to it in Falk, Arkansas this past year.
That's
this place
interesting.
I'm discussing is only about 40 minutes to the north of South Arkansas. But it's the hill and the instep is just greatly exaggerated. The instep of the foot is greatly exaggerated, but this, the outside of the foot follows it, but then the toes are straight. And it's a perfectly normal function. It has a perfectly normal functioning gait. I tracked it through a river bottom. I was tracking a 17-inch track. I was tracking a 17-inch track, and then I went. The people up there casted a track and sent me the picture of the track, and it's a 10-inch track with the same performance.
That's interesting. It's all from that region.
I wonder if anybody else is running.
Patrick, take a look at these diagrams and see what you think.
On the left-hand view, I mean on the right-hand view, bottom right-hand is very similar to a female track.
Which one did you say? Okay.
And the very slender, the straight toe, very slender track is very close track, except the heel is just a little bit more pronounced.
And wider heel, right?
Just a little wider heel.
Yeah.
Right, that's actually what I found just a few weeks ago. The first track I saw when I got out the truck looked like the bottom right one, but with a wider heel.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what we've been finding here in Oklahoma too.
Something.
I've been tracking. Go ahead.
No, something I not as important to what you had. I'm sorry. Something that I've often thought about was, as you look at the monkeys or the primates across the pond, Africa, wherever, they're different. I mean, from location to location. So you've got terrain differences, and I'll just call it terrain for the lack of a better term. But in one location, you may have the paw that's adapted one way, as another location that's adapted in another way for what they have to do. So I don't know how that would relate so much to, say, Sasquatch, but I don't know.
Good point.
Just a thought, Location.
Well, I think I brought this up before last week. You know, the Native Americans, the Eastern Woodland Native Americans, made soft-soled leather moccasins.
Yes.
Yep.
Whereas Midwestern and Western tribes typically made hard-soled moccasins because they were on more hard, rocky, dry terrain, as opposed to Eastern Woodlands, which typically are soft, leaf, mossed, sandy.
Pucker toe moccasins for Eastern Woodland, side seam with rawhide bottoms for Western.
Yep,
Pretty much.
right.
Yep.
I wear a center seam.
With a zipper?
Yeah. Well, center seam.
I do too.
Center seam, Mom.
I've got a pair somewhere around here.
I figured you did somewhere.
Yeah, I do.
You know, it actually brought up something interesting, but once I find it, I'm not, as everyone knows me, I'm not very tech savvy, but I'm gonna try to locate something, send it to Gary, have him take a look at it, see if he can put it up on the screen. But anyway, John, here we are. I'm gonna throw something at you. All right, we mentioned earlier.
Oh boy.
Here we go.
Here we go. Now, I just
on mute. No.
There you go. I just want to throw out there that I personally, I am no kill. I don't believe. Okay, I wouldn't believe in going out and pleasure shooting, at a Sasquatch.
Right.
Let's take an example on where you would have to, when it came down to your life, and you had to defend yourself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What would you feel comfortable in defending yourself with, John? I know it's a very controversial topic.
Well,
I'd say personally, I think it's about the placement, but that's just me.
A firearm, obviously.
Yes, because you hear people say, well, you're going to need a 500 nitro or a 458 Win. You know what I mean?
I've heard a grizzly bear being killed with a 22.
Yep.
And
it's all
got shot placement. Okay.
We kill 600-pound hogs with 22s.
There you go. There you go. It's shot placement.
But here's the deal, folks. If you put a shot off at one of these, you're not going to shoot at it accurately.
And I agree.
That's why I carry this.
Absolutely.
Now, the thing about this that makes it different is it's double action.
Yes.
All right.
I would prefer.
For those that don't know, it's a 44 Magnum, and that is, if you can see it, it's 44 Magnum in relationship to my little finger. Now, if I'm carrying a rifle, I'm carrying a 45-70 in relationship to a 44 Magnum.
How did I guess?
Now, well, here's the other thing. This is a casing. This is a bullet. All right, or this is the projectile. The projectile in this is 405 grain. Now, what 405 grain looks like in relationship to a 44 Magnum. Whoa, as that hits the floor. Luckily enough, I keep an extra supply of 44 Magnums right here in front of me. But there's the projectile.
Hey, John.
As opposed to that.
John, roughly,
sure.
What is the FPF roughly of a 45-70? What kind of speed is it?
Depends. It depends
on the load.
It depends on the load, but I think you could get 15 out of it. I think you could get probably 17 out of it.
1,700 feet per second.
Yeah, 1,700 feet.
I'd say that'd be on the low end.
Yeah.
I was thinking around 200, but I might be around.
there's so many different rounds out there right now. You know, if there people are shooting like say, like a 73 trapdoor, okay, a Springfield trapdoor, the SAMI ruling and so forth, they've got it set up to where if you go in and you buy some smokeless, then smokeless rounds, it's got to match what was being used in the pressures of black powder for the 73. Now, I've seen some stuff here lately that is just like express rounds, so forth, brass projectiles for penetration, so forth. It's just unbelievable.
Well,
my shoulder isn't old enough for me to shoot
John,
anything like that yet.
according to my Hornady book I've got here,
Yeah.
420 grain Hornady super hard cast hammerhead.
Yeah.
1350 with 85 grain or
there you go.
grains.
Thank
and
you.
It ranges all the way up to they've got a plus P round. I don't know who puts it out. GTX 1070. You're looking at 2,300 to 3,600 feet per second.
Not on my
600.
Here again, not on my shoulder.
There's no way that thing's gonna travel as fast as my 338. I don't believe that.
I wouldn't think so either.
Yeah. Well, my thing is a lever action or a pump, and when it's a pump, you're limited to say a 12 gauge shotgun with what is available in a 1-inch sabot round that weighs an ounce. I say 1 inch. I'm sorry, 1/2 inch diameter, 1 ounce, and it looks like a pellet rifle slug, and it's a 1/2 inch in diameter, and like I say, it's encased in a sabot. Now, what the sabot does, for those that don't know, it's a 12 gauge, and normally a shotgun has a smooth barrel, smooth bore, and a sabot round, it's actually a rifle of 12 gauge caliber, and the sabot is what links in with the riflings and spins, and when it leaves the muzzle, then the sabot breaks loose, and you've got a smooth spinning. It has to spin. It's like a football throwing it. It has to spin to stay on the target. But they too, the one I got kicks a hell of a lot harder than my 4570 does, you know. But I mean, but you're limited. So I carry a lever action. You know, it's like I said, you know, it's like bada bing. That's my standard carry.
A lot of it's preference as well, you know. If I gotta get up close to personal, I'm comfortable with 12 gauge shotgun with a loaded double odd buck any day of the week.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of it's preference.
It's preference and shot placement. Yeah.
Absolutely. Patrick, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
All right. If I can interject,
please.
Being up close and personal with a few of these things, I would prefer. It's like a horse that would stand up and come at you. Okay, you know, I would prefer myself to keep it simple. 12 gauge auto loader with segment hollow points, drilling the hips.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but if y'all catch my channel, you'll catch my history. I've seen one of these things at 18 inches face to face.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now that you might kill one unloading a 9mm or a 40 cal, all 17 rounds, but he's going to get you first.
I gotta agree.
I agree with John. If you're going, shot placement is a factor here. If you've got a chance, but if these things want you, they're so good in the woods. I think we'll all agree that you're not going to get a good shot at them. You better have something that's going to punch a hole and knock them. That's the reason I carry a 454 Casull and a 338 Winchester Magnum, both of them loaded hot.
Now, I have a question. I have to interject. I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
Does anybody, Patrick or anyone who's had any, close field experience with these things, have you noticed the amount of action with these things? Like, do you notice how active they are whenever you carry a rifle versus like a handgun that's kind of, it's kind of tucked away?
Yeah.
I think they know what they can do.
They do. I've experienced like nothing. Like whenever I carry my rifle, it's almost like showing up to a party with your junk out, man. Like nobody wants to talk.
Very well put, JR.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's not like cat crap on your face or something, man. Like you don't hear anything. Nobody wants to talk to you. But whenever I carry a handgun, I have more action that way.
Absolutely.
Well, believe it or not, in my area, mostly I just carry a knife.
Well, yeah.
I think you're about as better off.
You're gonna get more. I mean, you're gonna get more action, without a firearm for sure. But I feel a hell of a lot safer with one, But I personally don't think if you're within 30 feet and you got to take a crack at one, you're not gonna make it. Like Garey said, I don't think you're gonna make it out. To be honest with you, anyway.
I don't carry a firearm for the Sasquatch. I carry a firearm for hogs,
for other
dogs, and
other things. That's why I go in the woods armed. It's mostly for
That's a very good point. Yeah, I've always carried something. I knew there was a Sasquatch.
No, I that's rule number one in the woods. I've always been taught carry something in the woods. Travis, go ahead, bud. I know you wanted to interject.
Yeah, I agree with the caliber. First of all, heavy calibers, penetration. I do. You talking about a big creature? Yes. I personally, I'm gonna carry at least a 357 Magnum sidearm. Typically, I carry a 44 Magnum. But I do in the daytime. I usually only carry a handgun. But if I go out at night, especially if I'm by myself, I carry an AR-15. Now that's 223, light caliber, 22 caliber nose, but it's screaming hot.
That's screaming hot.
Yeah.
Then I carry.
I love that rifle.
God,
a 60 round P-bag.
Well, for me,
firepower.
There you go.
I have light laser combo, illuminated tack scope with it has a fluorescent open sight on top of it. And if you can see them, I also have 45 cant sights. So I got several sighting options. And the reason I can shoot it super fast and accurate. And I agree. If the thing comes running at the bushes at you, anybody would get rattled. But all of y'all guys shoot, and all of y'all know that when you really are shooting and you have to, you're not thinking about what you're doing. You're shooting.
Yeah.
What caliber was that, Travis?
It's 223. 5.56 223.
They make that in a 45-70, right?
Yeah. Well,
I also make that in 50 Beowulf, right?
I was just gonna say, JR, you've got a 50 Beowulf.
Yeah.
That's what making in 50 Beowulf.
Gentlemen, let me throw something at you, and I don't want to be a devil's advocate here.
No, I want be one.
Go for it.
Have any of you done any serious big game hunting? Like up north and
Yeah.
You counting elk and bear?
Bear
game hunting.
Yeah.
Sure.
An average bear can run 25 to 35 mile an hour, and if you've ever been charged by one, or even a moose or a big elk, it's a terrifying effect. But let me throw something I was just discussing today with a gentleman. My dog is I know Israel knows him very well, is a Belgian Malinois, highly trained. He is a service dog. Y'all seen video of him.
He's beautiful.
I've clocked him at 38 mile an hour at 60 pounds. And when he hits somebody with a bite suit, it's like getting blown over by a 12 gauge.
Absolutely.
Now, these things have been documented as far as documentation can go from credible sources of being able to run 35 mile an hour plus on their feet and even faster than that on all fours. If these things come out of the woods at you, I love how Travis put it. You're not going to get a sight in on it. And I love how John put it. It's double action. It's just a point and shoot. If these things really, that's just one. If they want you, it's the one coming at you this way is not the one you got to worry about. It's the one coming up from behind. Because if you see this one coming, I guarantee you there's 2 or 3 on the sides. I
agree with you.
I honestly think that, and I have to keep saying this because everybody knows that I am not pro-kill. And after seeing the one I seen, if these things want you, they're going to get you. It's going to take. When our government sends out the hunter kill teams, and I'm not going to say no more about that online, they're carrying stuff like what? Mr. Travis has got, but it's usually chambered for a 308.
Yep.
It's not accurate shooting. It's razzle and dazzle.
Spray and parry.
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
my mentality honestly goes back. I love history, read a lot, watch a lot, learn all I can. Vietnam. The skirmishes in Vietnam were up close, brutal, fast, violent, and firepower won the day. Whoever could dump the most heat the fastest typically won that skirmish. Bottom line. You didn't have time to pick a shot, think about a shot. You let it eat.
I'm going to be blunt with all of you. Mr. Israel, you've been in the service 17 years. Thank you for your service, my friend.
Yes, sir.
I was in the service for 8 years, and I've seen combat. And I'm telling you, I've seen one of these things up front close. And you're talking about when you carry a gun, JR. I swear to God, when I grabbed for my 45, this thing literally looked at me, looked at my gun, looked at me, and took off. They know what guns are. But
they do.
Things, knowing combat, seeing combat, and seeing how these things move in the woods, I don't want nothing of them.
You know, it's something that, I don't know, it's kind of comical, but, you know, how can I say it? If you're on the street, all right, and a carload of guys, 4 guys, 2 guys, get out, and they got their pants down around their knees. They're wearing gold chains, and they got tattoos all over them, right? And they're wearing a tank top. You're not expecting them to pull out a Bible and say, "Would you come to church with us?" You know. So the whole idea is what you got when you're out there, as opposed to what they may see. We always say they're more intelligent than what we actually think. Well, maybe they are, but how much more intelligent does that make them than somebody with their pants down around their knee and a freaking gold, right? Okay.
A lot more intelligent.
Yeah, I mean, intelligence is one thing. Intelligence to know the area and how to pick what berry so you don't die in the wintertime. All right, that's you know, for them, it's what I'm talking about. I know it's maybe sounds a little crazy, but go ahead, take it, man. Help, save my ass. Come on.
Well, I will say the closest encounter I had, and this was the best visual sighting I have had. I will confidently say I have seen 3, all at night, 1 in the moonlight, 1 in night vision. And the last one was about 25 feet, lit up with one of those white tack lights on an AR-15. That other AR-15 I have set up for predator hunting at night. It has a daytime, nighttime ATM digital scope with an infrared illuminator. It's very, very good high definition scope. And I had initiated this. This is what really got me into it, because I really wasn't accepting what I was dealing with until that evening. And this thing managed to get within 25 feet of us really quick through oak wood with open mix of pine wood. Very quietly circled around behind. And I just had gotten to the point, I had my mom and my daughter with me. It was like a kind of a spooky defensive kind of thing. And I threw on a white light and just panned around and happened to hit it dead on with the light. It had already started to turn and run, but it knew I had a rifle. It knew I had an infrared scope, because that infrared light is very visible to them, I know.
I believe so too.
Yeah. And he managed to stay out of the view of my scope the entire time and still snuck in that close. Now, I will say, it's my personal opinion, I grew up in these woods, hunted these woods, I ran those woods as a child. And I would assume probably they know me, at least who I am to a point, and know that I'm not trigger happy. I don't go out there and shoot the world up. Never knocked the safety off. It wasn't in my mind. I mean, I'm no kill completely. It was just, for me, I knew something was out there moving around that was hitting on trees and grunting at me.
And you had your daughter with you.
Yeah. So, and it came to that point.
Absolutely.
But, you know, if I may interject, it may well have known, because it may well have had a daughter too, if you get my drift on that. You
Yeah.
know?
Yes.
So it's like, all right, let's just leave well enough alone. you know?
Right.
And I will add
I
to
mean,
it,
there-
there was nothing threatening about any of it. It was
Mhm.
almost like it wanted to get close enough to be curious.
Yep.
There was nothing threatening at all.
Most of the time, when I have them come in, or I'm investigating a person or persons that had them come in on them, it's that those people went into an area and they were doing something in that area that was just a little different than what is normally being done there. And so, they watch you, they study you put your head down on trail, you go down to your stand, you sit in your stand, they watch you do it day in, day out. But if you change a little bit, it can be curious. It's like, hey, something, and their biggest fear, this is their biggest fear. Their biggest fear is that their world changes.
Mhm.
What is going to change about their world because of your presence?
Yeah.
That is their biggest concern.
That's good. That's
Sounds like a common issue.
I mean, no, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, I know, the group that I've dealt with for several years. I know they know who I am, and Patrick, that's a great point. The way you put that is, as far as the biggest fear, how is everything going to change for me? And Garey, I wanted to cop in when I know your encounter was extremely up close and personal. And I gotta agree with you, man. I just don't. You mentioned the eyes flickering. I dealt with the same type of experience, just not as close, But I know, man, if I could not, and I'm telling you this straight out, I would not have been able to rip that sling, that rifle off my shoulder fast enough before she got to me first. There's no way. No way. And she told me that when she looked at me. I'm sorry, that's just that's what I got off it. She was telling me, you can try, but if we want to just leave each other be, that's your decision.
The only way I know how to put it, I was hunting brown bear in up north of Fairbanks, Alaska, and we were running through a bunch of I call them ironwood, but there's like a hedge they all use up there that grows wild up there, and we was walking up through there, and luckily the guy, I was only like 17 years old, but the guide behind me had been around bears long enough. He wasn't even a real big boar. He was probably about 800 pounds, but he busted out of that brush faster than anything I'd ever seen in my life. And I couldn't even raise my gun up,
Right.
And he was behind me far enough, and he had enough, I guess, control over himself that he was able to do it, And then later on, that was before I went into combat. We've always called it lockups. I mean, sometimes it happens. But I've got video of my dog out here busting out of the brush at 38 miles an hour. You're not going to be able. The only way you're going to be able to hit him is to unload the whole gun in the general vicinity. You're not going to be able to pan a rifle, or it's
right.
It's unfeasible how fast an animal can move. We've all deer hunted. You've seen how fast.
Yep.
But if I can interject here,
go ahead.
Just because something I'm thinking of. All right, a bear can run about 30 some odd miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
All right. A cougar. I've been out cougar hunting before. Never saw one. That was an amazing thing. Saw tracks. Never saw one. Now I know they can bust ass. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a specific creature here.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing says that they are going to be able to bust ass faster than a bear or faster than, say, a buffalo. Nothing says that they have superhuman, well, maybe compared to a human being they do, but I've heard people say the railroad car was picked up and moved off the rails. Well, now an elephant has trouble moving a 260,000 pound coal car. I used to work on railroad equipment, and I know what those things weigh. and I know what it takes to move something like that. And a Sasquatch doesn't have the muscle mass that an elephant has, and an elephant can't do that. So something tells me that a Sasquatch can't either. So it gets back to the thing of how fast are they moving? I wouldn't say they're moving much faster than a bear. It's just you're surprised at what you're seeing and surprised that it's coming out of the woodwork.
Well,
you know?
yeah,
That's got a lot to do with
the
it.
reason I was using the bear and the dog as a comparison.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
right.
absolutely. Yeah,
I-
because that's what we
I can-
know. You know, that's
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
back up several years ago. I was black powder hunting for deer, and I was on the ground sitting against a pine tree. Had a coyote come tipping by me down the hill from me, about 50 yards away, and I did just a rabbit in distress with my mouth. I didn't have a call with me. It was a female coyote. She came up that hill, and that hill's about a 30-degree grade through the woods, and she got within 5 feet of my feet. Like now, it was that.
Yeah.
I mean, she came. It was like lightning. And she stopped. She didn't even see me. She stopped right in front of me. She knew where the sound coming from. She just didn't see what made it. And I shot her
Right.
with my muzzle loader. But
Yeah.
the level of speed and agility to react so fast she was just trotting on down through there. And I mean, she was almost in my lap that quick. From the time she was coming up the hill, covering that distance, it was a side lock. I was cocking the gun. It was that quick. She could have been in my lap by the time I could have got a shot off easily.
Sure.
She just
Well,
stopped. She didn't know what she was after.
You surprised her just like a frickin' Sasquatch would surprise one of us.
I think that's a lot of it as well. Yeah. I mean,
You know, and only the strong survive in out in the wild, as they say. So you know, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's an excellent point. That's the reason why I do this, is because I was never romantic about Sasquatch existing. I was always a non-believer until as a hunter, I had a rude awakening.
Mhm.
And so, that's why I do this, is to get awareness out to hunters to say, they're there. They're real. Whether you know about them or not, they know about you. They study you, and you have to be aware. That's why
Absolutely.
I have a 25-yard minimum. Anything, and I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a squatch. At 25 yards, if it breaks my 25-yard mark, I have a weapon in my hand, ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, it's some good stuff, guys.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I hate we're getting close, but let's keep going. Keep going,
Right.
John. I was gonna,
well, the reason I
too
care,
good.
I like what I like what he said about the 25-yard mark. Mine's 50 yards, but I carry a 45-70, and it has 9. I can get 10 rounds in it. And the reason I carry that is because with every shot I make, it gets lighter. And when I turn to start and run, I got a lighter gun to carry to get the hell out of there with. See?
Hell, if you're running, John, just leave it. Just leave it.
I'll just do like a lot of backpackers do and say, just take your pack off and throw it down, and that'll bewilder them, and they'll see what's in your pack. You'd probably pick it up.
All the folks
Shoot my
I
ass
go
with
out
it.
with,
What he'd probably do.
Like a Sasquatch really wants the granola.
all the folks I go out with, I'm actually crippled up, so they don't have to be faster than Bigfoot. They just got to be faster than.
Yeah.
I'll track with you any day.
Yeah.
We're going to do, Patrick. No, on a serious note, though, I mean, this group of guys right here all come from a diverse background. But and Jeremiah, I'm gonna kind of lead off of this, and I'm sure I know where you're gonna go right behind it. But this has been one of the most dynamic. We took a controversial subject and turned it into actually an educational portion of the subject with taking the controversy out of it.
Absolutely.
Being a host on my show, for as long as I have, and doing the research that I have, it's been a great conversation. I mean, guys
phenomenal.
They brought some good points, about when Jeremiah told me he was going to bring that up, and I laughed about it. I said, "Man, you're open up a bucket of hornets, man." I mean, because it really turned out good. I can't believe it did that well.
And that, Patrick made a great point. That's why I do this as well. Is just I feel, I've been, like he was saying, as a hunter, my first visual experience was on my way back out of the woods. And I feel it's our duty as researchers, or however you want to put it, to let others know these things are real. That's why I wanted personally to take this topic, like you said, Garey. we talked about it earlier. This might get a little controversial this evening. That's why I wanted to bring it up. But I think it was an awesome discussion, and I think it's a great group of people, and I think it went great. I wanted to make sure I said I'm no kill as well. I think we'll all agree on that, but I think we good.
I've heard everybody's opinion, but too, and I'm gonna ask specific questions on this one because I'm gonna JR.
Yes.
What are you gonna do if one of these big hairy bastards jump out and go ooga booga at you and try to take you?
Well, I mean, that's a really good question. I have my own opinions about that as far as firearms and things. I think the groups that I think one kind of group that I know, I think they're kind of, I don't really think they're into guns, but this other group that I recently found, man, those dudes, you can almost feel it. And I think I don't want to woo. I really don't want to sound crazy, but you can feel it. You can feel the tension. You can feel like the violence. Like you can feel what these things are prepared to do. Really? I don't know that taking a rifle would really matter with those guys, but I carry a 50 Beowulf, and that's what I tote, and it's got like 10 rounds, and I carry a bunch of mags. Like I'm scared. I mean, people ask me what I'm scared of, and my official answer is not a damn thing. Or as a sidearm, I tote a 50 Desert Eagle.
Good God, I'm underpowered in this group.
Garey, like you said earlier, and call it a sixth sense, and I know some people might be, against this, but I call it a sixth sense, man. I have a feeling if I was to take a crack at one, like you were saying earlier, I just feel I'm not gonna get out of there anyway. So, like call it a sixth sense. I know that sounds cliche, but I know they're not alone.
I agree with Jeremiah on that one.
I don't know how else to fucking pardon my language, but
it would have to just be in my mind for me to actually open up on one. It's like my last stand. It's Alabama. It's Alabama. There's no option.
Patrick, I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
Well, my thing is that out of all the tracking I've done, I've tracked 24 individuals of their species, and only one of them was alone. All the others had 2 or 3 of them around them or more. So only that one was lone, and I still wouldn't want to pull a trigger on him.
I agree with that.
So if you pull the trigger on one, you better do it from the truck window because you're not getting out of there.
But that's the key point, though, is 90% of the time when we're doing this, we're deep. Where I had my my sighting comes from a very famous area. I had my sighting 3/4 of a mile up the ridge from the siege of Zenobia. If anybody doesn't know any stories, same bunch, same group. We know that group. There was no way they had already followed us down as a group. They had followed 3/4 of a mile back down. There was no way. In saying that, Israel, man, are you sure you still want to go squatching after this?
Absolutely. We're not alone, and we've been and again, it's all about the education. And myself, I mean, I have to learn a lot, and I've been learning a lot from Jeremiah, but I need to go out there and research on my own too, get that experience too.
Well, I'm a practical applications guy, and I love the practical application that you bring as far as your police work and your tactics and your systematic approach to it.
I agree.
find that interesting.
Something that
Yes.
Honestly, after 17 years in with the bunch he's been with, I'll let him watch my back. He's real familiar with a firearm.
Absolutely.
You guys can watch my back anytime. One thing I wanted to, before I know everybody's wanting to shut it down.
No, listen, I could go on all night. We want to, keep going, Garey.
I know, John, you're kind of up north, but the rest of us are kind of in the south, and Jeremiah's lived in the south.
Yes.
Ballistically, and how would we say, hard to kill. Would y'all say that one of these, of course, we don't know because we don't know that's actually killed one, but would y'all say that shooting one of these would be like shooting a hog?
I'd say more like shooting a moose.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, with a moose, you've got to go through all kinds of mud,
Muscle, bone.
and hair, and muscle.
But you and Jeremiah are really the only ones we don't know. I've never shot. I've shot at them, but hunting them. But us Southern boys, that to me the hog would be a good comparison. Not mass wise. But
I think a hog's pretty easy to kill, isn't it? I don't know. I've never killed a hog. Travis,
They're tough.
It depends on where. It depends on if it's a wild hog or a domesticated hog.
Yeah. Well, give you an idea on that.
You walk out there in the pen, you wait till he turns his head right, and you shoot him right there behind the ear with a 22.
Yeah.
I see it. I hear it.
I've seen people bounce 30-30s off of a wild boar's head.
I saw that too, and I couldn't believe it.
Okay.
I saw that video. Yeah.
I know Israel will know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When I do this right here.
Yeah.
That right there. When you're talking about what we're talking about.
John said a moose.
Yeah.
A moose is on average is 6 feet tall, 1,200 to 1,750 pounds. Would you say?
Depending on the I would say depending on the subtype. Your eastern moose where I'm at are actually contrary to popular belief, and you can all do the research on your own if you'd like. But
and the western moose.
They're the second largest head of the subspecies, and I'm going to tell you right now, I've been up close to Sasquatch and moose, and I'm telling you, and being next to a moose is extremely intimidating as well. And to be able to, like John, you were saying, when you take a crack at a moose, there's a lot that round's got to travel through if you're taking a broadside. You got your muscle mass, you've got your bone. I mean, you're talking about something as big as a horse, and go ahead, John.
That's not counting mud and hair that's matted together and dried.
Everything moving.
Absolutely.
Brush, there's a lot of factors there. You know what the legal in Alaska, you know what the smallest caliber you can shoot a moose with?
It's
375 Holland and Holland.
Actually, legally it's 270.
270.
Really?
I was going to say maybe 30-06.
30-06, 270. Yeah.
I mean, I know, that we don't have they haven't legalized it here yet, but I've heard rumors from certain people they're gonna, try to get us. The population of moose in the Adirondacks right now is higher than it's ever been.
Yep.
I've heard rumors they're gonna open a season, a lottery season, but I personally wouldn't want to shoot at a moose with anything less, this is gonna open up a can of worms again, but me personally, I'm gonna want. I would prefer 30-06 or larger. That's just me. That's just me. I know back in the day, it's all about, I don't know. I don't want to open a can of worms again, but Travis, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is real simple.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the guys getting out of the car with the gold chains and the
yes.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. You talk about that. They're not living an intelligent lifestyle.
Correct.
We're talking about an apex predator that does not want to be seen or found by human beings, period.
Perfect.
Right.
Why would he or she or them charge an individual that is armed? Because somebody's getting shot.
Absolutely.
No matter what happens to the shooter, somebody's getting shot.
I think
either way you look at it,
I think it's a rogue situation.
Hey guys.
What can you?
Yeah, go for it.
I was chased out of the woods for a mile carrying a weapon by a 6-foot tall female Sasquatch. I had a weapon, and she chased me for a mile in the woods. because I didn't want to turn and shoot.
But she didn't catch you. She could have caught you if she wanted to.
Well, that was the thing in my mind. She knew I had a weapon, but
Yeah.
she was 10 feet from me running, right next to me.
The
What
thing,
she wanted, I didn't know, but she did approach me.
She probably had already sized up and then made up in her mind that you wasn't going to shoot her. She just wanted you gone.
you know, the thing that there's one key word in this: female, dude.
I knew something was going to come
up.
Oh boy!
Go figure, man.
What phone were you wearing? I mean,
I've cried several times because of a female, and I wasn't even 10 miles. I was 10 miles from them. You know.
The other thing I was going to say is that Rock Island Armory makes an AR-12 and an AR-15 platform that shoots segmented hollow points.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You know, I mean, all that, which brings me back to my thought process when I said earlier, you know, I mean, and I too, Patrick, I got to interject on that. I too have been quote unquote escorted out of the woods because I feel I interrupted a hunt one night and I had a shotgun, a 12-gauge shotgun on me. I personally think that they could have, if they had wanted, so chose to, snag me whenever they want. And there wouldn't have been a damn thing I could do about it. That's just my personal belief.
Well, let's just say this, that I know personally of somebody that with impeccable credentials, in my opinion, and 6 foot and shined a flashlight at one, and it just looked at him and kind of turned away. And even with the flashlight shining on it, you could barely see it. And I'm sitting here looking at him right now. Yep.
Yeah. That was me.
Yeah. I think that
so kind of what you're saying, Gary, is that there was a thought process involved and it had made a choice. Is what
I didn't even have a firearm on. I was tracking with just my knife, and it watched me. I was moving 45 degrees left, 45 degrees right, tracking in a pattern at night with a Q-beam, and it dawned on me why I was able to get up close to it is because, you know, if you're gonna go catch a horse, if you got a horse in the pasture that doesn't want to get caught, you don't go to him. You go at an angle and you keep angling. He watches you, and before you know it, you're right up on him. Well,
a lot of horses have had their hair braided because of that.
So, you know,
don't be laughing about
it. Just the way he says it, I'm sorry. God, John, what are you doing, man?
Hey, I had my Q-beam. I had my Q-beam on the ground, and 6 feet off my left knee, I see this eye shine, and it's looking where the light is. So I stop, and I move my light, and it's watching where it's looking for what I'm looking for. It's like trying to see what I'm looking for. And
like
I'm
a
moving
cat going after a laser.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a cat
and
watching a laser.
and you know, I'm you know, probably close to half a mile back in these woods. So I hit it, so I just shined it to see what animal's there, and you see these bright eyes, and they're 9 inches apart, and they were squatted down. They start standing up, and when it got dead even with me, I start backing up, and when it got to 7 foot tall, I'm running backwards. I get a truck length between me and it. It watches me, and it turns real slow. And all you could see were the eyes, and that's what puzzled me is because how come its whole face isn't lighting up? I don't have a flashlight. I have a Q-beam. All right, I have a spotlight, and as it turned slowly, it turned away from me, and I'm shining its back with the spotlight, and in the brightest spot of that spotlight, you can see shag hair, but on just the outside halo of the spotlight, you could see it was just the color of night, and it walked away. And it went out about 40 yards, got behind some brush, and there were actually 2 of them. One was about 4.5 feet tall, and one, the eye shine, was 7 feet tall. And it went out behind the brush, and I put my light back on the ground, and I went forward, and I made a U-turn, and I could shine and still see both sets of eyes out there watching me. And I made a U-turn, I went back to the creek and tracked back down the creek back to my truck.
You just gave me a great idea for next week's topic. I'm not gonna even touch it right now, but Gary, I think you know where I'm headed with that.
I know.
Has it got to do with shining spotlights and fruit of the loom moments?
It does. It does. That's the only thing I'm gonna say. We'll take.
I think I know.
Because that's gonna open up a whole friggin' ball of wax, gentlemen. I know where that's headed, and yeah,
no.
it's gonna, folks. I gotta say, this was an awesome show. Next week, I'm gonna say, is gonna get interesting as well. So, I gotta thank each and every one of you guys. You know, Gary, John, Patrick, thanks for coming on, man. JR, Travis, Israel, all you guys are unfreaking believable. I thought it went great. You know, any input on that? I mean, you guys think, like you said, Gary, you know, we turned something that could have gotten an ugly, and I think we made some good points out of it.
Absolutely.
You know, so yeah, it almost makes me want to get into that topic right off and hit it this week, but we're gonna hold off, people. But I want to thank everyone out there for joining us. You know, thanks to every one of you guys. We'll start. Gary, how can we get a hold of you if anyone wants to get in touch with you?
Just contact me on Facebook under P3 Productions. He's pretty easy to find. You can also type in P3 Productions on YouTube, and I am the one with the big Sasquatch standing on the cover. But if you need to email me at triple S Bear, would be TRIPLESBEAR. I'm available anytime anybody needs anything. I really enjoyed tonight. I love corresponding with you guys because there's no politics. It's just a good, wholesome conversation. Always look forward to messing with my brother JR in the back burner.
Absolutely.
We're always messing with each other, but great show. Israel, once again, I can't say enough. Thank you again for your longevity and your service and your dedicated
valor. You're welcome, brother.
That you
show absolutely.
We are the greatest country on the planet. I don't care what happens politically. We are still the greatest country on this planet, and we always will be.
Amen to that. So that's excellent stuff. Israel, listen, man, and I want to say something. So thank you. You know, I admire what you do, and I think you're an extremely, unbelievably intelligent individual, and I love what you bring. I'm glad you decided to, link up with us this year. It's amazing. If anyone, say someone out there had a question for you, what would they have to do? Would you rather they go contact one of us to get in touch with you? Is that how, or what?
Yeah, for now.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having and like I said, we're gonna start those mini podcasts, I guess, to put all the evidence collection together. We'll start with basis documentation. I'll put a class together. So all the and we'll break it down: beginner, again, intermediate, and advanced. I'll have to reach out to you guys to get more information for the advanced portion, because beginner and intermediate is fairly simple, but then once you get into more advanced tracking, that I lack those skills, so I'll leave more onto you guys for that.
Yeah, thank you. In saying that, I got to interject. I forgot all about it. Jeremiah, I know we was talking about we was going to announce it tonight, and I forgot. We are going on my channel as soon as I can get somebody to answer his messages.
Awesome group.
Actually put together a tracking tutorial, starting from the basics all the way up, just like Mr. Israel is going to do and we're going to have Israel come in, because tracking is all about gathering evidence. But it'll be the common host. Will be Mr. Patrick here and Mr. John Schweitzer as soon as I can. Come on, and I'd love to have. I know JR's got some input on some of that stuff because I've talked to him before, but we'll have people come in, but we are going to do a tutorial on our channel, and we'll probably just get with Jeremiah and buy broadcast it. But I forgot all about it.
I know. I forget too. We've talked about it, and it's gonna happen. Absolutely. Absolutely. That'll be some good stuff. John,
Yes,
are
sir.
you there?
I'm
If
here.
if anyone has a question for Mr. Schweitzer, what is the
I'll, t-
process in
I'll
getting
tell
into
you what. Be perfectly honest with you. Next week
yes.
I will give it to you. It's going to be on Gmail, and it should be something like. I'm sure this is going to be it. On the trail.jsin at gmail.com.
Fair
That
enough.
sound good
Sounds
enough?
good. It does. It
All
does.
right. Now you wrote that down, right?
I did.
Right.
I did.
On the
I
trail.jsin at gmail.com. Good, because send it back to me. That was winging it, and I'll forget before I get my teeth brushed and go to bed.
tell you
So,
what, I'll do it right now.
there you go.
All right,
There you
JR.
go.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
JR, it's great to have you back as well, man.
Man, it is
Uh,
always a pleasure. It's always a
I,
pleasure. I want to say
I
thank you.
like I was saying, I'm just in awe, man. Or it's so good to have you
That's
back.
good to
I ain't
see you,
really,
man.
I'm not
It's awesome.
really a wealth of knowledge, but I mean, I'm at least.
I disagree, but go ahead.
Dude, brother, I disagree too.
Yep.
Yeah,
I want to say thanks to Patrick. Thank you, Israel. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
yeah.
I guess if anybody wants to get a hold of me, I'm in Western North Carolina in the mountains, Appalachian Mountains. But I don't play banjo or anything like that. We don't do that stuff.
I have one if you want to learn.
I kind of already know. Tell anybody. Anyway, you can catch me at Jarrett Randall 05 at Gmail. That's JARRETTRANDALL 05. Or you can just catch me on Messenger at JR Kitchen, just like kitchen in your home.
Thank you, JR. Travis.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
How can I touch with you, sir?
Yeah.
I just want to thank you as well, man, because you're also you're a wealth of knowledge, man, and you're just an awesome addition to this show this year, and so thank you.
I'm jealous y'all all got fancier guns than I do.
And cheaper ammunition.
You ain't shitting.
So Travis, go ahead, man. How can we get in touch?
I am on Facebook, Travis Boland, Dry Fork, Virginia. You can find me there. Also, you can email me at on the trail lowercase .tb at gmail.com.
Thank you, Travis. And again, thanks a lot, man. It's here. I think you're just an amazing addition. I know we all love having you. God, I just lost track of where I was at. Patrick, man, thank you. Thanks for coming on tonight. Unfortunately, we were lacking Stu and Shawn tonight. Unfortunately, there's some circumstances that didn't allow them to come on. Garey, thank you for bringing Mr. Patrick on. It was awesome. So Patrick, thank you very much.
No problem. I'm used to being independent.
You brought some amazing stuff, and I appreciate it.
I have to dispute that a little bit. Patrick is no longer independent. I won't let him be. He's my brother from another mother. He's my training partner. So.
I got a feeling I'm going to be heckling Garey to have you back on to us again at some point, because that was awesome. So thank you, Garey. Thank you, Patrick. And again, you can reach me on the trail.jf@gmail.com, or try to hit me up on Messenger. Am I forgetting anybody here? I got so excited over tonight. I think I covered us all, didn't I? We all.
Oh.
Me neither.
I think you covered it.
All right. Awesome show, guys. Thank you very much. And everybody, join us back next week. Same time. We'll work that out later this week, and we'll announce it on Facebook. But again, next week, we're going to hit something a little bit controversial. So again, it's going to happen again. So everyone be ready. And it's been
please do go on.
I can't. I almost did that time. But I had to.
I'm gonna have to.
Absolutely. All right. Everyone have a good night. And thank you once again. This has been the Skookum Session Roundtable, Season 2, Episode 2, and calling it for the evening. Good night, everybody. Hope y'all are doing well.